All right, Shalom Makiyam out there. First and foremost, before I start, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. All right, I want to give double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone who taught me this word. Wa Shalom to all you brothers out there that's teaching this word in truth and sincerity. All right, coming back at you brothers with another video. The title of this lesson is going to be Don't Be Moved Away of the Hope of This Gospel. All right. Because as you brothers know, in the spirit, you got a lot of these seducing spirits coming out, pretty much trying to come with these false doctrines. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make them sound good, and move you away, all right, from the hope of this gospel, man. You know what I'm saying? But we know that, like the Apostle Gabar say, they're necessary evil. You know what I'm saying? But we got to be rooted, man, and grounded and not moved. As you brothers can see, I have this picture here, you know what I mean, of a deep rooted tree. You know what I mean? That tree could be rained on, it could be scorched, you know what I'm saying, as far as with the heat, you know what I mean? But if you see, the wind could blow, you know what I mean? But these roots are so deep and grounded into the earth that it's unmovable. You know what I mean? And we was going into this a little bit at the camp, this past Saturday. So I want to do a video on it. So Lord willing, this lesson may be edifying to you brothers out there. And I'm going to hop right into it. So this is the book of Colossians chapter 1, verse 23. It says, if you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, right? Because it's all about continuing in the faith, man. All right. You're going to have these seducing spirits like it speaks about in Timothy, okay, coming through, man. All right. But if you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, all right, and be not moved away from the hope of this gospel, man. All right. Which ye have heard and was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I Paul am made a minister, man. All right. Yeah, man. So that was pretty much the point there. If you continue in the faith, man. All right. Because that's what we have to do. What is it speaks about in Timothy? Let's see. Let's get that real fast. Matter of fact, let me open up another tab. 2 Timothy 3:14. Yeah, here we go. This is 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 14. It says, but continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, right? This knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, you know what I'm saying, that we learned from our apostles, you know what I'm saying, the apostles of Great Millstone, all right? This knowledge of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, we got to continue in that, man, all right, until the very end, okay? Till Yahweh Shai returns, man, So continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and has been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. Right. So you got to know who you learned them from as well. You know what I mean? Knowing that, hey, these men got the truth, and stick with it. The scriptures speak about, miss not the discourse of the elders. You know what I mean? You gotta know whom thou has learned, like the scriptures say, know whom thou has learned them. You know what I'm saying? Know who the elders are, man. Know who the Lord is dealing with, man. You know what I mean? Because they gonna tell you, the apostles tell you everything, man. You know what I'm saying? And on all the different brothers throughout the states, the camp leaders, you know what I mean? They let you know the history of this thing, man. Because if you knew, you probably missed out on some things, that certain guys may have did in, the 2010s and, the early 2020s, man. You know what I'm saying? So you'll think that this guy is, oh, man, I like the way he teach. Nah, man, that dude's a demon, man. And apostles will tell you, like, man, that dude ain't right, man. Or he go off on this, he go off on that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and been assured of, right? Because the scriptures say, what does it say? Matter of fact, let's just get it. Be fully persuaded. Yeah, man. And the elders had brought this out, man. You know what I'm saying? When we had did our mass camp a couple weeks back. Um, yeah, Romans 14:5. One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Right. You got to be fully persuaded that this is the truth. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is dealing with these men. All right. And this is the gospel, man. You know what I'm saying? Can't be moved away from it. You know? So from there, let's go back to Colossians 1. This is Colossians 1:23. If you continue in the faith, grounded and settled. All right. And that goes back to this tree I have, man. You know what I'm saying? Because we're compared to trees, you know? Let's get this Psalms 1. This is Psalms 1:1. It says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. So the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, and his delight is Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai in his word, meditating day in and out. This man shall be like a tree, right? Planted by the rivers of water, man. Right? Planted by the rivers of water, man. You know what I'm saying? All we missing is a river of water here in this photo. You know what I'm saying? It's probably one if I continue to look, you know? But yeah, man, this goes back to being grounded and settled, you know, and not being moved. Okay? So let's go back. It says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in due season. Bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. You see what I'm saying? Because the Lord is with you. Okay? You meditating, you know, in this word day and night. You know what I'm saying? Like I heard the Apostle Tahar say, it shouldn't be a day that goes by when you don't think about this truth. You don't think about this word, man. You know, it's gotta be in you like that. You know what I mean? You know. So yeah. I'll keep reading. Yeah, this is verse 4. It says, the ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Right. The ungodly is tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine, man. You know what I mean? They like the chaff that the wind driveth away. They just go anywhere, man. Anything that comes up that sounds good, they ready to, you know what I'm saying, dive in. All right? Verse 5, therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Right? All these false prophets, man, all right, that's coming out, you know, talking about another doctrine, you know, all nations could be saved. You know, John the Baptist wasn't in the truth, you know, all these, you know, it's going to be something else. Watch, you know, it's going to be something else. Oh, the names ain't the names. Watch, you know, because the scripture says seducing spirit shall wax worse and worse. You know what I mean? The way of the ungodly is going to perish, man. You know, guys that's teaching that, the Lord is not dealing with them, man, and they're gonna perish. All right, the Lord said it. Okay, so let's go back to Colossians 1. It says, if you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of this gospel, man. All right. I had a precept on that. I believe it's in the second chapter. Let me just go over a chapter. Colossians chapter 2. Yeah, Colossians chapter 2 verse 6. It says, as ye have therefore received Hamashiach Yahweh Shai the Lord, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up in him, established in the faith. Let's look up this word rooted. You know, let me go out the Strongs. Let's look up this word rooted, man. All right, comes from the Strong's 4492. It says, Rizu. We can play it.
Strong's G 4492. Chrizao.
Rizado. Okay. It says to cause to strike root, to strengthen with roots, to render firm, to fix, establish, cause a person or a thing to be thoroughly grounded, you know? And that person is us. You know, it is you brothers, you know? We have to be thoroughly grounded. You know what I'm saying? What does it say? To become stable, you know? Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Yeah, stable, you know? So it says to strengthen with roots. Okay. I think that's pretty much it here, you know? To be grounded, man. Okay. Strengthen, firm. All right. So let's go back. Colossians 2:7, it says, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, as ye have been taught. As ye have been taught. Look, and that's how that goes back to what we had brought out before. You know what I'm saying? Not that one. It was Timothy. I think I had went away from it. You know? But in 2 Timothy 3:14, man, as ye have been taught. Okay? Because we've been taught this, man. All right? To learn this, stick with this. Okay, learn these breakdowns, man. Watch these videos. Okay, do study to show thyself approved. You know what I mean? So that way, when you grounded in the Lord and Yahweh Shai, okay, any false doctrine that comes out there, you ain't gonna be moved. You know what I mean? But ultimately, it's if you're of the elect. You know what I'm saying? Which we hope and pray to be a part of that number. It says, rooted and built up in him, established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. There you go. And that's talking about these false prophets, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. They trying to spoil you through their philosophy and their vain deceit. You know what I mean? Because their whole motive is what the scriptures say, filthy lucre, you know, to get money. All right? To get people's minds to follow them so they can get their money, man. They don't really believe, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could tell, like, when you watch brothers, you know, in Great Millstone, you could see, like, man, this brother really believe, man. You know what I mean? Like, and like, we know it, but you could see it, man. You know, you could feel it, man. It's you know, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I know you brothers know what I'm talking about, man. You know, you could feel the belief. You know, them guys out there, they don't really believe, man. You know, it says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of this world, of the world, and not after Yahweh Shai. You see, because they'll come through an angle where it's super worldly, man. You know, selling the merchandise. They got T-shirts and, you know what I'm saying. You know, they selling everything that ain't nailed down, like the apostles say, man. You know, they got the music popping. You know, you go to the camp, they'll get you a wife. You know what I'm saying? But when you really deep into this knowledge, you understand that this ain't about that, man. You know what I'm saying? If you got a wife, hey, you just got a wife, man. You know what I'm saying? That's your business. You deal with that. You know what I'm saying? At home, you know. But this thing here, nah, man. All right, we don't, you know, brothers, we ain't bringing our wives around each other and making this a family Israelite church type of thing, you know? Nah, man. Okay, that's after the rudiments of the world. That's how them churches do. You know what I'm saying? And that's why all the adultery be going on, all the confusion. You know what I'm saying? It becomes more about that than the word. You know? It says, and not after Yahweh Shai, for in him dwelleth all fullness of the Godhead bodily. All right, and ye are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power. All right, but that's pretty much the point that all I wanted. You know, being rooted, all right, and built up and established in this thing. You know. So let's go back to Colossians 1. You know, we could read that over again. Colossians 1:23, it says, if you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away. And be not moved away from the hope of this gospel. Right, going back to being moved, man. All right. Now I got a precept on that. This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 22. It says, cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. You see? The righteous not going to be moved, man. You know? Because they believe in the correct doctrine. You know what I'm saying? And they just, they ain't down, to compromise this thing either, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to read it again. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. All right. All right. So let's go. What did I have after that? But I did have these scriptures right here. I just typed in moved and just, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I did have Galatians 1. Let's we'll save this in a little bit. This is Galatians 1 and verse 6. It says, I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Yahushua unto another gospel, which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and will pervert the gospel of Yahushua. You see? So this was Paul telling you that, hey, it's gonna be people that's out there that's gonna trouble you. You know what I'm saying? And try to pervert the gospel, man. All right. All of a sudden, all nations could be saved. You know, all of a sudden, Paul's writings don't matter. You know. So this is why Paul was writing this to the church in Galatia, man. You know what I'm saying? Because certain of them, they was getting removed. All right, by these seducing spirits. You know. And it's the same thing now, man. You know, Lord willing, us brothers stay firm in this thing. All right. It says, but though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. You know, pretty much, even if it was a angel from heaven that tried to say this ain't the truth, I don't believe you. You know what I'm saying? Nope, I don't believe you. This is the truth, man. You know what I'm saying? And it says let him be accursed, man. All right. Put a curse on that man. All right. Just like when Paul delivered Hymenaeus and Alexander unto Satan, man. You know, which, hey, you know, we believe those guys is back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, if you know, you know. All right. It says, as we said before, and Paul said it again, as we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than ye have received, let him be accursed. You know? So let them guys be accursed, man. You know, no curses on them damn dudes, because they Satan, man. You know? If it was up to them dudes, man, they'll want to stay here, man. You know, they'll want to stay in America. You know? Live their life, ball out, happen something crazy, you know, everything worldly, you know, above, you know, that's what they down for. It says, for do I now persuade men or the heavenly Father, or do I seek to please men? For if I please men, I should not be the servant of Yahushua. You see, because it's all about pleasing Yahushua and not men. Okay. And that's what the false dudes do. You know, they're men pleasers. Okay? They don't really have no fear towards Yahushua, man, you know? And it shows. It says, but I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached unto me is not after man. Right. This gospel ain't of man, man. Okay? So for them to say that this is the way we're teaching it is wrong, you know, and they changing it up, they going against Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. They going against the creator. You know, they gonna lose terribly. You know? Because this gospel that we preaching is not after a man. This is divine. You know? It says, for I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by the revelation of Yahushua. You know? Because Paul was taught this word by Yahweh Shai, man. You know what I'm saying? Directly. All right? And you could read about it, you know, in the book of Acts. You know, he knocked off the horse and everything, man. Yahweh Shai taught Paul personally, man. You know? So how can his writings be on point? You know what I mean? Stop. You know? So let's go back. Yeah, that was pretty much the point on that. Yeah, let's read this one more time, and then we could get some scriptures I have right here and close him out. So this is Colossians 1:23. It says, if you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I Paul am made a minister, you know, because Paul was a servant, you know what I mean? And that's what we are, man. You know, we are servants of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, you know, teaching his word, all right, until these prophecies you know, are fulfilled, you know, and we only got a couple left, man. Y'all brothers already know. You know what I'm saying? That MOTB, all right, which is the RFID CHIP, all right, which is going to be made mandatory, you know, the hour of temptation, all right, in World War III, all right, which Yahweh Shai will win. You know what I mean? No, none of the nations on earth, man. All right, they're going to be demolished. Okay? So let's get some scriptures over here and, you know, in this right here. This is Psalm 62:2. It says, he only is my rock and salvation. That he only is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved. Right, man. That's the mind state we got to have. Lord willing unto the end. Verse 6, same chapter. He only is my rock and salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. Hey, he said it twice. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if there's any more here. This is a good one. Proverbs 12:3. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. Look at that, man. The root of the righteous. Let's go back to this picture. The root of the righteous shall not be moved, man. You know, we're going to be strong, man. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the Lord holding us up, not ourselves. All right. So yeah, brothers, that was pretty much the point there. You know what I mean? This lesson, don't be moved away from the hope of this gospel. You know what I'm saying? Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to you out there. You know, and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I want to say Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All right, double honors to the apostles, that great millstone who taught me this word. Why Shalom to all you brothers out there that's teaching this word in truth and sincerity. Stay up, brothers. Shalom.